Just don't call right now. A couple of big things going on statewide today. Just happened a short time ago because these are happening times in Jeff City. We're joined right now by State Representative Paul Curtman from District 109. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Mark. Thanks.
Hey, good. Thanks for giving me some time. You know, I know I lured you onto the air to talk about one thing, and I want to get to that in a minute. But first of all, it's my understanding that right to work has been passed and sent on to the governor. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So the House debated the Senate version, Senate Bill 19, for the better part of the day. Speaker of the House let everybody speak on the bill who wanted to speak. He let everybody have an opportunity to introduce whatever amendments they wanted to introduce. So the discussion was, the bill was thoroughly vetted and discussed, and it passed by a vote of 100 to 59.
Wow. So do you think it gets signed today, tomorrow? Do we have any idea?
I don't know. I know the governor is currently out of town. I know later on today he has some plans to release some information for his plan for the budget, but I would not be surprised if it was signed by the governor before the deadline.
Interesting,
sure.
Yeah. I saw the Post is reporting that, and I've got a copy of it here, the budget that the governor has put out, which actually cuts spending by about $500 million.
I have not seen that yet. I haven't seen the details. I know he's releasing it today, and of course, we just got off the House floor, but I'm sure I'll be hearing all about it from my colleagues.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. So the Post is saying that the governor wants to cut 2% or $572 million from the state's $27.6 billion budget for the fiscal year. And the details are out, apparently, so I'm sure I'm not going to ask you to react to something you haven't seen, but that's another big story that's coming out of Jeff City. So let me get to this real quick, and bear with me, Representative Curtman. I'm going to play something real quick just so people can listen, because today Mayor Slay made an endorsement for mayor in the city to replace him, and that'll effectively be decided in the primary because there are no serious Republican contenders running. So just listen.
Serving as your mayor for the past 16 years has been a tremendous honor, one I have never taken for granted. Because I'm not running for re-election, I have to decide who I'm going to vote for. All the candidates for mayor are good people who want the best for our city. But I believe one candidate, Lyda Krewson, has what it takes to do the job.
So Mayor Slay has endorsed Lyda Krewson for that job. I would assume that she was already probably the front runner. There's been a lot of discussion with all of a lot of the other candidates who are African American that maybe they're dividing up the vote. With his endorsement, I would have to think that Krewson is the front runner. Here's what's so frightening about this, and I can't get in the minds of all the other candidates who are running, but Krewson still has an assault weapons bill that's been introduced, a Board Bill 195. It was introduced back in November. I've talked about it on this show. And if you read this bill, assuming Alderwoman Lyda Krewson is the one that wrote it, you can see into the warped mind of a liberal. Because they basically any weapon you own, I'll guarantee you, would be banned under this bill written by Lyda Krewson. If you have a semi-automatic handgun or any sort of a semi-automatic rifle, there's a very good chance it falls under her definition of an assault weapon. I asked Representative Curtman to join us because he and I have had this discussion before. This probably wouldn't stand up to state law. Is that correct?
No, I don't think it would. Now, I'd have to go back and look at some state law and see what the law says as far as municipalities' ability to restrict state statute even further within their municipality. But I'll tell you what, I've read both of her bills, the assault weapons ban and the one that says you have to keep a gun locked up if you leave your car.
Right.
And it is obvious that these bills were written by somebody who doesn't have the slightest clue about anything related to firearms. I can speak with some authority on this, Mark.
Sure.
I was in the Marine Corps. I was an infantryman in the Marine Corps for several years. But when you put in your assault weapons ban that any bill that has a barrel shroud, any bill that has a thumb hole stock. A lot of these features are designed so the shooter can be more accurate and be safer with his weapon, but she's throwing him into her description of a quote-unquote assault weapons ban, which is a misnomer in itself. Any weapon you use to assault somebody is an assault weapon. But, you know, in 2015, more than half of the murders in St. Louis committed by guns were committed by handguns. So if she was really serious about this, she would go after the actual issue instead of trying to come up with a solution that doesn't directly address the most immediate problem.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, when you read through the thing, to hear her description, basically she's banning anything that would hold a magazine that holds a capacity of more than 5 rounds.
Yeah, and in addition to that, she's lobbying in any firearm that has a caliber of, or that's a 50 caliber firearm. And I mean, there's an awful lot of hunters who have, probably even people on the Democrat side of the aisle or even the liberal side of the aisle who still like to hunt, who probably have a 50 caliber rifle that they could be using for different hunts or for even shooting competitions. Certainly, this, just reading the bill, it was just, I almost couldn't get through it because it was just ridiculous the way it was put together. Obviously written by someone who has no experience and no expertise and probably didn't consult anybody that does. No,
it certainly reads like that. Well, it's my hope that if there isn't already something in the law in Missouri that would prevent this from taking effect, the thing that's the most concerning to me is that with this endorsement by Slay, the person who wrote this bill, who's that clueless about weapons, is about to be the most powerful person in the city of St. Louis. And this is the group of people, and I know your district is outside St. Louis County proper, but this is a group of people who truly want to merge with St. Louis County.
Yeah, that's
people
right.
need to understand that.
And furthermore, it should not go unnoticed that he's endorsing a woman who's writing a law, and the teeth of the bill, all it does is make criminals out of people who are currently law-abiding citizens. It does not do anything to actually go after the criminals.
And that addresses the other bill you were talking about, which I've also got a copy of here, which requires you to keep your gun locked up in your car. Now, I think that's not a bad idea, but it doesn't address the real issue. If you don't report a stolen weapon with 48 hours, you're guilty. If you don't have it properly locked up to begin with, at which point I'm assuming you would have to go to the police and say, my weapon's been stolen. They're going to say, was it locked up? If you say no, then they're going to fine you at that point or write you a ticket. $500 or up to 90 days in jail. So again, the law-abiding citizen becomes the criminal instead of focusing on the thug that cracked the window open and stole the weapon to begin with. I think guns should be locked up. I just think it's common sense that you should have one of those little safe boxes in your car locked up.
Sure, and I think, though, that the way her bill's written, she's just assuming that somebody's not going to find a gun box and just take the gun box.
Well, sure.
So it's just a ridiculous notion to think that a criminal is just going to see, oh, this gun is in a little safe, you know, on the front seat or under the seat, and just decide not to take the whole box. It's just crazy. Her bill doesn't require the box to be bolted to the car.
Well, it says it says something like it should be permanently attached to the car.
Okay, I must have missed that part. Either way,
yeah, but
either way, it's still making criminals out of law-abiding citizens.
Yeah, you're right. I wanted to bring this to people's attention just because it gives people a glimpse inside the minds of the people that run this city, the people that are about to run this city, and how clueless they are about the challenges they face. She's going to get into office and take over a town where we've got a street that runs through the middle of North St. Louis that's been declared one of the most dangerous streets in America. And her answer is to ban assault rifles, which, to the best of my knowledge, have not generally been a problem in the city of St. Louis. And she doesn't even know what an assault rifle is.
Right. And Mark, she's been in office for 20 years.
Yeah.
And so she's thinking about this issue now that she's decided to run for mayor. And I see this in Jefferson City all the time. It's just normal political posturing for people who are looking for higher office.
Well, it's sad. It really is. Paul Kurtman, listen, District 109, I appreciate your time today. Thanks. I know you've been busy. You've been on the House floor all morning. So what else are you working on? Do you have anything you can talk about?
No, I am. I'm specifically working on some issues related to the finances of the state, making sure that the state legislature follows up with our state auditors' audits to make sure that we're reining in and out of control bureaucracies. And right now, there's a big debate, and we've talked about this on your show before too. The whole Real ID issue that certainly is a big debate in Jefferson City right now as well.
Yeah, we're facing a bit of a deadline on that, and I know there are a lot of people that feel pretty strongly that we don't need a separate bill to deal with this. Where do you stand on it?
My position, I'm against the national government giving so much authority to the Department of Homeland Security to unilaterally create rules that require when citizens have to have a card in order to conduct normal business. Right now, Department of Homeland Security is saying if you don't have the card, you won't be able to fly by a specific deadline. But the 2005 Act doesn't restrict Department of Homeland Security, and actually they're charged with creating more rules as they want to or as they see fit. So my fear is, as we've seen with other bureaucracies, tools like this can be exploited by unelected people to push political agendas, like we saw with the IRS, targeting conservative groups to prevent them from organizing and activating in the last 8 years. So I am not comfortable with that much power going into the hands of unelected bureaucrats.
Sure, understood. Well, keep us up to date on it, would you?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. Paul Kurtman, thanks for your time.
All right, thank you, Mark.
All right, thank you. State Representative Paul Kurtman, who was down in D.C. today and taking care of D.C., Jeff City. I'm getting my capitals mixed up. He was down in Jeff City today on the House floor this morning, obviously there when Right to Work passed, and it's now been sent to the governor's desk. But the governor's out of town, so it's pretty clear it won't become law today, but it's going to become law probably before the end of the week, just so you know. All right. She's pointing at me. Liz is. All right. I'll go ahead and give away 2 more Deep Purple tickets, and I'll make it caller number 11. 314-969-9797, 866-455-9797. Of course, they go on sale tomorrow at noon at the Hollywood Casino Amphitheater. They're going to play there in September. Of course, you can win them here first, or you can go to the website, 971talk.com, for more information. We'll be right back.